Hello. In the day we'll be playing NeveN. We'll start chapter 6 for Tenoch. You know, I really don't like this idea. We can still reconsider, can't we? I give Cat an almost desperate look. He picked me up early this morning, right on time for our appointment with Astrid. I'm not going to lie. I almost hoped he'd forget. You know as well as I do that we can't go back on our promise. We announced that we would be there, so we will indeed attend. A sigh escapes from my lips. My last conversation with Astrid didn't go too badly, but it was in a completely different context, and Tenoch was there to make sure everything went smoothly. Here, I don't even know why she would want to invite me, and the fact that she's also asked a cat to come doesn't help. Maybe it's to discuss the results of the contest. After all, she never had a chance to take part in it. Added to the rest to what happened at Kelt. I see you once again brimming with joy to viver today. Isn't that castle life what you thought it would be? Great. Just what I needed to brighten up my day. Sven, what the fuck are you doing here? I've already told you that you're not the only one with friends in high places. I was invited, my dear. Invited by whom? By the lovely Astrid, of course. Who else? Are you taking the piss? Dearly, could you be more specific? I'm holding back my urges to strangle him, but honestly, it's really complicated at times. We are also invited by Lady Astrid. I think it was a bit unexpected to see you here, that's all. I thought she would have told you. She probably wanted to give you a little surprise. I could have done without that sort of surprises, to be frank. I don't doubt that for a second, but I must admit that seeing the look on your face at the moment is more than enough to keep me satisfied. I doubt that Lady Astrid has organized all this simply to torture you, Eric. Perhaps, but spending the morning with that bastard isn't exactly my definition of a good time. I'm not thrilled to see you either. I give him a death stare, and he returns it in kind, while our cat remains trapped between the two of us, awkwardly looking at each of us. We should go. We shouldn't be late and keep a lady waiting, should we? That's one thing we agree on. It would appear that at least someone in this duo knows how to deal properly with the ladies. Screw you. Oh, I have a feeling this is going to be a fascinating discussion. A cat doesn't even try to hide his embarrassment and disapproval. For that matter, I don't feel particularly bad about it. I certainly haven't forgotten my last discussion with Sven, or the way he behaved when we were traveling together. That weasel is an asshole. There are no other words for him. And I have no intention of being sympathetic to him. So it is in a sullen silence, punctuated only by a cat's sighs at the absurdity of the situation, that we arrive at Astrid's door. Firmly resolved to regain control of the situation, I step forward to be the one to knock on her door. Before I even have time to raise my arm, the door opens, leaving me face to face with a dog staring imperturbably at me. Ma'am, your guests are here. Perfect, Berthold. Solomon, then leave us. Yes, ma'am. He steps back to let us pass before exiting, closing the door behind him. I suppose I should have expected Astrid not to open the door herself. And I should have expected the decoration too. I knew she was rich, but still, I think absolutely everything in the room has gold or jewels on it, including the tea set. Come on, don't just stand there, have a seat. In the center of the living room, comfortably ensconced in an armchair like a queen reigning over her domain, Astrid is waiting for us. Her subtle smile, however, breaks what is no doubt intended to be a sort of power. Well, smile. The word is a bit strong. Is it witness at best? I say. I'm not absolutely certain this woman is capable of smiling for real. Dear Lady Astrid, as always, it's a pleasure and an honor to visit you. I see that you are flattering as ever. Lady Astrid, I'm delighted to be able to meet you at last. Likewise, Laura Cat, Astrid, Eric. There's not the usual slight tinge of hatred in the way she greets me. I wouldn't exactly say it's a warm welcome, but there's progress. We quickly take our places in the armchairs, finding ourselves facing a steaming cup of tea. Sven settles in as if she's used to being here, and from the way he talks about Astrid, I realize that he probably is. Many thanks for your invitation. I can't hide the fact that it was unexpected, especially after the way the royal competition went. Oh, I'm not going to lie. Not getting even a chance to sing wasn't the most enjoyable experience. However, that's all water under the bridge now. Not to mention that after your performance at the festival, any boy with a modicum of talent must have realized that we never stood a chance of winning no matter what. Oh, his problem was never his talent. Eric has never been able to get rid of his huge ego, not to mention his many other faults, of course. Now, Sven, we are among friends here. I don't want to hear that kind of remark. Friend with whom? Astrid turns to me and gives me what almost looks like an amused look. It's not an expression I was expecting to see on her face. If there's one thing I've learned recently, it's that traveling bars, no matter how insufferable they appear to be, seem to have unsuspected qualities. It just takes a little time for them to appear. Really? It is so strange that I'm able to change my mind. I think Eric is only surprised because of your mutual past. I'm sure there's no ill intent or mockery on his part. It takes me almost a second to realize that I can't speak in his tones totally different from what it usually is. He seems much more composed and controlled, but also less alive. But it's true that he's also a noble. I suppose that's how he's been taught to speak in these sorts of conversations. I could never survive with that tone of voice. It seems he's not as stupid as he looks after all. Oh, but I'm perfectly capable of having a cordial conversation, Sven. It's just that with you, insults come so easily, it's hard to resist. Gentlemen, sorry. Like I said, it's hard to resist. Entertaining as it is, I do invite you to listen to badmouth each other. I'm afraid I have more serious things on my mind. And what is it about? You've had a mouth to get used to your new positions as well as your brand as far as you're concerned. It's high time someone started actively involving you in our kingdom's affairs. And since neither our kings nor Lord Tenoch seem to want to get on with it, it would seem that this task is assigned to me. I've already taken part in several royal councils, and Tenoch has helped me to be more active in them. Oh, of course, but that's not what I'm talking about. The councils, despite their importance, aren't exactly interesting to those who aren't part of them. Nobody knows what happens when we decide, after all, neither who proposed what idea nor who opposed it. The discussion I had with Tenoch shortly before the competition didn't come to mind. You're talking about the way I behave in public, are you? Who I talk to and how I present myself. It seems he's not as stupid as he looks, after all. There's no problem here. Well, I don't think any of us have acted inappropriately. Without wishing to diminish the importance of your opinion, I come from afar. My cat is not phosphating. Things work differently here, and Eric behaves in a way that is unusual relative to our customs. I'm just acting as I always have. And that might not have been a problem if you had different company. Think about it, Eric. Your wife here, out of nowhere, accompanied by a former scion and determined to put you both in a position of power within the kingdom. Once you won your place as a royal bard, the first thing you do is parade around with no modicum of discretion whatsoever, holding the arm of the ambassador of a number realm. I don't. You leave the impression of someone who is closer to foreigners than to his own people, and you know what relations with our neighbors are like, especially in the eyes of our citizens. That's not true to Tenoch and a cat or my friends. Just someone I'm just someone from nowhere, a boy who comes from the midst of the people, that's all. Oh, but that's over. I know you love to think of yourself as insignificant representative of the commoners. Unfortunately, that's not how people see you. Not anymore, anyway. And you didn't just pick any ambassador. You chose the one who does nothing to hide his status and wealth, and then went to one of the most established establishments in the city. Do you think it would go unnoticed that people wouldn't change their opinion of you after that? But the start of the festival, people were happy, weren't they? Impressed, no doubt. Whatever I think of you, you're perfectly capable of putting on a great show, but you're not one of them anymore. That affects me more than I thought it would. I never wanted to be a grand representative of the masses, someone there to save them and protect them. It was just something that was part of me. I'm a normal person from out there. I lived on the streets for years, for fuck's sake. So to find out that I'm not part of it anymore, it's disturbing, strange, unpleasant. Eric, are you alright? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Now, there's no need to act. There's no need to make such a face. It's not necessarily a bad thing. False thing is changing rapidly and radically. Our kingdom has always been defined in opposition to our neighbors. It was originally a gathering of northern tribes to fight against possible invaders. But since the Lord Lusk and Aeon sees power, things have been different. They have put freedom and merit at the heart of the kingdom's values, opening our borders and offering sanctuary to runaway slaves. The kingdom is more tolerant than ever, and perhaps a member of the court who shows open-mindedness to foreigners is more than needed. Provided it's done with a touch of subtlety, which from my past and current experiences with you is by no means your strong suit. That's because you've never seen me. I traveled with you for a year. You were capable of subtlety. I managed to get you out of the competition once I saw you were cheating. You made a big show of it. Told you no subtlety. Could we try to focus on the current rather than the past, please? A cat looks almost embarrassed, and I have to acknowledge that it can't be easy for him to be stuck between NeveN and me. Sorry. As I was saying, I think that with a little assistance from me, we could use your image as a appreciator of foreign countries, provided we also remind people where you come from. That's where you come into the picture, NeveN. Me? What have I got to do with it? There's one thing people love is stories of redemption, old enemies who become friends. I'm sure there's something to be explored there. No way. I'm not asking you to actually get along, just to give the impression that you do when you appear in public. They'll probably have to do it gradually if that's the case, won't they? Yeah, I doubt anyone would buy the idea that we suddenly become best pals. And I usually have higher standards in terms of relationships. By hearing, you sound like children. An exasperated sigh escapes the poodle's lips, and for a brief moment, I wonder if we push things a little too far. From the look on NeveN's face, something tells me he's thinking the same thing. I suppose we could pretend just a little bit. After all, Rhaegar has had us sing together, and it didn't end in disaster. I guess I can make an effort, but we'll have to prepare for that. Of course, we can't just throw you on stage and ask you to do something together. I prepare a series of receptions that should see you both reconnect and be cordial to each other. I could also act as an intermediary if necessary. After all, I don't really have any grievances with NeveN. Excellent idea. This is all going a bit too fast for me, to be honest, especially as there's a question lingering in the back of my mind, a question no one has asked yet. There's one thing I'm not sure about. What's in it for you? Ashford sips her tea briefly before placing it on the table with her side. To put it as plainly as possible, I need allies, Eric. The Crown Prince's public execution of the Lord of Kermar has upset the political balance, and not just a little. The aristocracy is restless, and the different groups of the nobility are ready to throw themselves at each other's throats. So if I could have another member of the court with whom to share my responsibilities, it can only be to my benefit, and your apparent proximity to Kazal, as well as Bekar, could appease some of the noble houses. I'm not acting out of the goodness of my heart, if that's what you're asking. I was mainly curious about it. It's a situation that it's complicated. Prince Maybjorn has always been quite protected by his fathers, probably too much, to be honest. The nobility doesn't know exactly how he reacts to different situations. I can assure you, however, that he has the support of the people of Farsfang, a prince who punishes nobles who treat their servants brutally. Of course, they like the idea. I had no idea that things here would be so complicated. So did I. I just expected to be able to live the castle life as sick as I please. Sometimes I really wonder how you survived this long being so naive. With flair and charm. I get a groan as a response, and I'll take that as a victory. Bye, I beg your pardon, but I have to ask you to leave. I don't think I can put up with your childishness any longer. At least the message is clear, I suppose. After a brief moment of silence, we rise to leave. I stay behind, however, flaccid I cast a brief smile. And one last thing I'd like to discuss privately with Astrid. We'll meet up later. He nods at me as I turn to face the portal again. There's something I'd like to talk about. Eric, my pace has always been severely tested today. I wanted to apologize again for what happened in Kelt. It was never my intention to wreck your merits. Astrid sighs again before setting down the mug she was still holding by her fingertips. The problem was never that you slept with my former fiancé. Our marriage was arranged, political. There was never any love between us. My concern was infuriated me was that you chose to seduce him in public for all to see. This meant to humiliate me. That's not what happened. That's what he told me. So why shouldn't I believe him? After all, you have to admit that you're not shy about making your intentions known in this respect. I don't deny it, but in this case, it was he who came to me. That's what you told me, yes, but you have something to gain by being in my good books. So how do I find out the truth? By asking an outsider who has nothing to gain by presenting you as innocent? Savannah. Precisely. He was able to confirm your statements, at least in part. It was indeed the cult who came to find you, but you didn't make any effort to push him away either. You didn't know who he was. Ignorance is not a good enough excuse. It wasn't then, and it will be even less to justify your future actions. I am, however, able to tolerate it for my sake and as well as yours. Thank you. You should go now. This morning has exhausted me, and I'd really like to get some rest. Oh, of course. We'll see each other again soon, I suppose. I don't doubt it for a second. After a final goodbye, I leave Astrid still on. Once in the corridor, I take a second to breathe. That clearly went better than I feared. Still, I wasn't expecting to have to team up with Sylvain again. Anyway, at least I don't have to live with him. If it's just a matter of us pretending to get along in public every now and then, I should be able to manage. Well, at least I hope I can. He really has a way of getting on my nerves. I really need a break. The opportunity to visit Lust's Gardens hasn't really presented itself yet, and now that I'm here, I have to admit that for someone who's known for leading a revolution, he's also capable of doing some beautiful things. Not that those things are automatically incompatible, but when you see his enormous statue armed with a gigantic axe at the entrance to the city, you don't think, oh, he grows pretty flowers too. Anyway, it's a perfect place for me to sit and think for a while. This little meeting with Astrid and the others had given me plenty to think about, especially when it comes to the way I've been acting since I've been here. And I have to admit, they're not entirely wrong. Despite Tenoch's warnings before the contest, I've continued to act as if nothing had changed. As if I were still the same, as if my actions were nobody's business but my own. But what I do has much greater consequences now. It's time I started acting accordingly. A sigh escapes my lungs. Sometimes I wonder if my life would have been simpler if I just stayed with Ragor and the others. Lost in thought, I jump, almost falling to the ground as I stumble in my own paws. I never thought I'd have such an effect. Excuse me, my king. I didn't expect to see you here. You didn't expect to find me in my own gardens? I think I'd better not answer that question. Something tells me I'll only make a bigger fool of myself. So I was just thinking about something. Would you like me to leave? No, far from it. I was actually looking for you. I want to talk to you. Well, that sounds like another busy day. I wasn't expecting a visit from royalty, though. Of course, nothing serious, I hope. Of course not. Just a chat with the newest member of our council, that's all. Shall we sit down? I'm afraid that at my age I can't stand up for much longer. He says this before buckled over to a bench, but there was nothing in his gait to suggest the slightest sign of strain. I'm absolutely certain that he is more capable of standing if he wishes. However, I'm not here to question royalty, not in front of the king himself anyway. After taking my place next to the bear, he gives me a brief smile. I haven't had a chance to ask you yet, but how is castle life treating you? I imagine it must be quite a change. I can't complain. I rarely slept in just a comfortable bed, and I've got my own room. It's not exactly what I had before when I was traveling on the road. Oh, I can't imagine. I also spent some time traveling before I came here. During the war, during and before too, although I very much enjoyed the comforts of my life here. From time to time, there's a simplicity of life back then. I suppose you do too. Sometimes yes, but at the same time, if I stayed with my troop, if I had never left Rhaegar, my mentor, who knows what damage I might have done with my brand. Not to mention everything that's happening with the Avatars, tests, and all the other stuff. Are you scared? Of course I'm scared. I'm not a warrior like you or King Aeon. I'm not cut out to fight. Being a warrior doesn't mean you can't be scared, you know? The only thing that it gives me is a tool to fight with, and it's not essential to know how to fight in your position. You got something just as useful, if not more. Really? You're clever, Eric. It could take you a long way. That's not the impression I get, but to be entirely honest, I'm just a silly rabbit who can sing. Don't underestimate yourself like that. You may lack knowledge, but you're far from an idiot. Of that I'm certain. Give yourself a chance to learn. From what Tenoch has told me, you understand things reasonably quickly. Did you speak to Ambassador Tenoch about me? Of course, he is indeed in charge of teaching you how to use your brand, but that training remains under our supervision. I suppose that's not really surprising after all. I wonder if he tells all the details of our lessons. Something tells me he doesn't. Especially the parts that end up in his bed. I can only thank him for the help he provides, especially in these troubled times. I know perfectly well that he's acting to help his empire first and foremost, but he's supported us in spite of everything that's what's important. Troubled times? I suppose I've really second things out. Oh, you clearly still love the kingdom, but don't go overboard and give yourself too much credit either. Oh, that's not what I meant. I know, but don't worry. I just wonder who else could cause so many problems. Oh, Mayborn, is it? Prince Mayborn. You may have noticed that we're not exactly keen to etiquette, so you're not in no trouble. But yes, I'm worried about my son. Interesting, if Mayborn seems to have trouble calling the kings his fathers, it seems they don't have the same problem the other way around, at least as far as lust is concerned. His demonstration at the festival obviously didn't go down well with you, but for the people it was a different matter, seeing a noble get what he deserves. Oh, he deserves much more than that. That's not the point. And I know how much Mayborn's appreciated by the people of Frostfang after that. Even relations with the nobles can be mended. Muriani be thanked, is making enormous efforts in this direction. No, what worries me is what made Mel act the way he did. I can't help wondering if the bear pauses before letting out a long sigh. Looking around distractedly, he reaches for a tree beside the bench, and I can see a faint greenish glow beneath his clothes. A branch extends slowly, landing on the king's hand, then a flower grows in his palm. It helps me gather my thoughts, using my brain and making something sprout. You don't need to justify yourself, my king. I know, but you see, it's something that doesn't come naturally to me. I've always found it much easier to use my powers to heal. Growing plants requires a lot more effort and concentration on my part. These are notions that I've always wanted to pass on to NeveN to better prepare him for royalty. For a long time, he was convinced that it was our brands that gave us power. And they play in a sense of well, make no mistake, Eric. My husband has the most powerful brand of saddle on the continent, and mine is not to be overlooked either. However, what has allowed us to take over this country to make it better than it has ever been, is our efforts in our well far more than anything else. And I'm afraid that lesson hasn't been understood the way I wanted it to be. It's only now that I realize who I have before. He is not a king who worries about his succession or the kingdom, but a father concerned for his son. You know, my king, I never knew my father, so I'm not necessarily in the best position to give that kind of advice, but I think the prince has learned his lesson, but he also wants to prove himself. Perhaps he simply wants to show you that he can succeed you despite the size of his brand. Whether you like it or not, your majesty, he carries his heavy responsibility on his shoulders. Your reputation and the size of both your and your husband's brands only add to the weight of that responsibility. So I think he simply wanted to show the people, the nobles, but above all you, that he was competent, that he was prepared. I would have preferred him to have done it differently. And I agree with you on that point. Let's be honest, it was risky and probably a bit stupid, but your son is a lot smarter than I'll ever be, and he'll learn from his mistakes sooner or later. Maybe you could also start to trust him and give him more freedom. I don't think I've ever seen him leave the castle, for example. It's potentially dangerous out there. Who knows what could happen? It's dangerous for me too, and yet that doesn't stop you from letting me out. And I know that he's a prince, that there are risks that only he can face. But don't forget that he is also an African, a person with perfectly ordinary needs. A moment's silence ensues, but I suspect the king is mostly busy thinking. Eventually he turns to me with a slight smile. It's reassuring to see that I'm still capable of judging people. I knew you'd be more helpful. I knew you'd be more than helpful. I just say what I think, my king, and that's more than enough, Eric. Then a noise is heard on the path ahead, and I can quickly see the familiar figure of a boy joining us. Ah, Lord Vo, you arrived at just the right time. You sent for me, Your Majesty. Indeed, Eric, I briefed Lord Vo on the Avatar situation. I thought you wanted to keep it a secret from the population, of course, but certainly not from the temple representative. Who better than him to help us better understand what is going on, and to check that it's not just a fever dream too. I wouldn't lie about that. That's not what I wanted, but you can understand my mistrust of such an announcement. Have you been able to find anything to prove the existence of avatars? Nothing directly conclusive, but digging through old tales and legends, I've been able to find a number of references to individuals bearing essentially powerful brands, as well as here and there a few stories about brands of tests or abnormally constituted creatures that we only perceive during rites dedicated to Kilithan. So you don't believe us? I do. I think there's definitely something going on. The presence of your brands is proof enough, and there are too many tales for it not to mean anything. However, impossible to verify whether Tess' claim is true, and that's where my doubts come in, my lord. I refuse to believe this story about the avatars. And why not? It doesn't seem all that illogical to me. If the gods really wanted to choose representatives in this world, why would they choose you? Why would a simple bard instead of someone who has dedicated his life to serving them directly? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't take much effort to hear the jealousy in Vo's tone. I'm not to blame, of course. Well, please continue your research. We never know, in case you discover something useful. As for you, Eric, for the time being, the orders we gave you earlier will still stand. Go out, make yourself seen and known. But try not to cause any trouble, will you? You've already given me enough to think about today. As if I provoke anything on purpose. But Les is right. I think we all got enough on our hands at the moment without needing to think of new problems on top of everything else. In any case, one thing is certain. My life here is considerably more complicated than I thought it would be. After thinking long and hard while hunching over my lunch, I have a fairly decent idea of what I intend to do with the rest of my day. And that starts with fetching a particular ambassador from his room. So I knock on his door, preparing to give him a bigger smile. It doesn't take him long to open it for me. Then he leans against his door once he recognizes me. Has anyone ordered a delivery of rabbit? I can't remember, but I'm certainly not going to complain. He leans over to place a kiss on my lips, and I can almost feel myself purring with happiness. Gods be thankful or not, I can't, because I don't know how they deal with that. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit? Do I need an excuse to see you now? You know perfectly well that's not what I mean. He gives me a light tap on his finger on the tip of my nose. Why, I deserve that one. I just wanted to know if you were available to spend some time with me. I got some work to do, but nothing urgent. Do you have anything in mind? The last time you showed me your world, I wonder if you'd like to discover mine. I've already been to the poorest parts of Frostfang, you know? Of course, and I'm sure everyone's been very polite and nice to you. Wandering into a space is different from experiencing what that space is like. So a proposal for an afternoon of fun is to take me somewhere where I won't be treated politely or nicely. Precisely, you have to live a little dangerously if you want to discover new things after all. Tenoch gives me a doubtful look before finally sighing. I suppose I can grant you that. Just try not to get my throat cut in a dark alley, will you? You say that, but I'm not absolutely sure you'd love to be able to play the hero who saves me from a dastardly villain in an alley. It wouldn't be the first time I saved you from criminals. Oh, my hero. What would I do without you? Will you agree to accompany me once again on this dangerous journey through the streets of the capital? Alyssa bursts out laughing before leaving his room, closing the door behind him. I thought I always said yes. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. With a final smile, I turn and walk through the corridors of the castle, confident that my companion will follow. Which fortunately he does. I will have looked delicious if I had turned round to talk to him and he hadn't been there. You seem particularly excited today. Has something happened? What makes you say that? I'm starting to understand you, that's all. Well, it's nothing really. I had a chat with Astrid this morning. She wasn't too rude, I hope. I know she can be a bit rough at times. No, it's fine. See, hey, how do you know she could have been mean to me? She told me about your sad past, really, Eric, her fiancé. I didn't know. You have to ask before you fuck, dear. Yeah, never mind. That's not what she wanted to talk about anyway, and yes, I did apologize before you asked me about it. I wasn't going to say anything. So anyway, she just wanted to give me some advice to discuss my exact position in court, as well as her kids. Well, that's a pretty good thing, really. You know as well as I do, I won't be here forever, so I'm glad to see that there are others besides myself who are prepared to help you with your political duties. She's not doing it out of the goodness of her heart, of course, but she's still an excellent ally if you can get her on your side. So what? Were you afraid I'd become a poor little lost thing without you? Sometimes I wonder. Oh, come on, I'm an adult now. you know? I can look after myself. You can't blame me for being a bit worried about you. That's quite a good thing in a relationship, isn't it? He gives me a big smile before gently squeezing my hand in his. You're lucky you're such a charmer, Mr. Baxter. Otherwise, I wouldn't be giving up this discussion so easily. Once outside the castle, I head in the opposite direction to where Tenoch took me last time. Although I still don't know the streets of the capital as well as I'd like, I managed to enter the area enough to know where I want to go, in broad terms anyway. Can I know where you're taking me now? I told you, didn't I? You showed me how the nobility has its fun in town. Now it's my turn to show you where the common folk go. I was hoping for a little more detail. A spoiled a surprise for you? It's out of the question. But if it makes you feel better, I don't intend to take you down a cutthroat alley. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully, oh well. Now I'm fully reassured. You're not going to tell me that a little stroll in the street scares you, are you? Certainly not. I was just thinking that maybe I should have worn a disguise going out undercover. Now that would have been unusual. Believe it or not, I've thought about it. The problem is, I point at his tail, which is swinging beside him. It's difficult to hide that thing, and I'm pretty sure you're one of the few lizards in town. Good point. It would appear that my fellow Kazarians don't enjoy your temperature, strangely enough. Besides, you don't really need to worry about anything, do you? With a brand like yours, I don't really see who could do you any harm. My brand doesn't prevent me from being taken by surprise, you know? But you're probably right. There can't be many people in Phosphate capable of hurting me if I don't let them. He turns to flash me a smile, beaming with self-confidence. Good thing he can prove his point. He'd probably be insufferably arrogant otherwise. As we make our way through the streets, I notice the glances cast in our direction as well as the chatter, some far less discreet than others that our passage seems to provoke. Looks like you're attracting attention, although I don't doubt that I am provoking some of these reactions. I feel that we are both guilty of it. You are the new royal bard and bearer the brand of NeveN, after all. I know. It's just that I like to be known for the first part only. Oh, if you just want to give them something else to talk about other than your brand, I can arrange that easily, though. He comes and wraps his tail around my waist, pulling me close to him with a yank. What are you doing? I'm giving them something else to talk about. He smiled before leaning over me, kissing me deeply and passionately. For a brief moment, this morning's conversation with Astrid comes back into my head. It's clearly not going to help with my reputation as a appreciator of foreigners. Fortunately, all these thoughts disappear when I feel his lips on mine and our tongues on their way to meet each other. Fuck what people think. I'm entitled to have a love life and to enjoy my partner. As well as his hand, which I feel rather uncertainly reaching for my butt. When Tenoch finally steps back, his face couldn't express more how proud he is of his little trick. Mr. Ambassador, you're going to ruin my public image at this rate. Come, you wouldn't really be part of the nobility without a little hint of scandal. Oh, I didn't need your help with that. I'm perfectly capable of scandalizing on my own. I set my tongue out at him, which makes him laugh out loud. He then releases me before slapping me on the bum, hard enough to make a few heads turn for the noise. We got something to visit, haven't we? I wouldn't want to hold you up for too long. After glaring at him briefly, I make the strategic decision not to reply. No doubt that's what he's after. And I can't think of anything clever to say either. And so we continue on towards my chosen destination as I try to remember the directions I've been given. Eventually we arrive where I wanted to go, a tavern at the end of a relatively isolated street with a small sign depicting a rather large flute hanging over the entrance. Even from outside I can hear the music play inside, and I know I'm in the right place. Tenoch, on the other hand, less decidedly less convinced as he reads the name of the establishment. "The Big Flute, please tell me you didn't choose to come here because the name of this inn is a fairly basic pun on cocks." "What, me? Falling so low? Of course that's not why I chose to come here." "Well, it's not the main reason anyway, it's only the second one." I offer him a big smile as he raises his eyes to the sky with a sigh. "You should be able to hear why we are here." "The music?" "Yep, this tavern is quite special. It has a large stage, much bigger than what you usually find, and it's open to everyone." "Did you bring me here so I could hear you sing?" "Not really. I'm not saying I won't take a turn on it at some point, but that's where the second big feature of the place comes in. The stage is primarily for beginners. It's a well-known place for discovering new talent. There's usually one in most big cities, but the Big Flute is probably the best known. You showed me a lot of the world you come from with your axoma. Yes, that. Now I'm taking you to my domain." Tenoch takes a brief moment to think. "I'm afraid I've made a mistake. After all, maybe he's not interested in listening to amateur bards in the middle of nowhere." "You know what? I don't think I've ever set paw in an establishment like this before. I can afford to be a bit adventurous." "You say that as if it were a shabby old tavern. It's still a fairly distinguished establishment." "I'm afraid you and I have different expectations when it comes to restoration. In that case, let's hope we can still find something you like in there." I laugh as I grab his hand and pull him inside. Once we're in there, the music and singing that was coming faintly to us outside fills my ears, and I can't help but smile even more. I have an almost nostalgic feeling coming over me. For a brief second, I feel like I'm back home. So I pull Tenoch over to a free cable, making sure to find us a spot from which we can clearly see the stage on which the troupe is currently playing. Not perfectly, but well enough that it's still enjoyable. However, after a few moments of settling in, I can see the lizard looking around with a puzzled look on his face. "Something wrong? Shouldn't someone come and serve us, or at least tell us what's on the menu?" "Oh, I see. It's a bit different here." After a quick glance to see if a waitress is nearby, I raise my finger to my lips before letting out a long whistle in her direction. "Really? That would be considered extremely rude, Kazal." "Glad to see you're finally getting to know the real Frost Fang." The waitress, a cow of an advanced age, approaches us with a big smile. "Good morning, my little sirs. Where can I get you?" "Well, we'll start with a beer for each of us. What are you serving today? Both meat and vegetables?" "Yeah, the cook isn't in his best condition. All we have to offer is a basic vegetable stew, and it comes with a slice of grilled beef. If meat is your thing." "Perfect, then we'll have two, including one with beef. Thank you very much." "I'll bring it right away." As the cow leaves, Tenoch gives me the most dubious. "What if that's not what I want to eat?" "Obviously, you have no choice, my darling. That's all there is." "Really? I'm afraid that's the way it works around here." He finally shrugs his shoulders, and a few minutes later we are served our food and drink. I start eating while listening distractedly to the troupe currently on stage. However, it's not long before I notice something. While Tenoch eats his piece of beef without too much trouble, he hasn't touched his stew yet. "Are you still picky, sir? Not so adventurous now, are we?" "I have a delicate palate, you see. It's part of my upbringing. I'm careful about what I put in my mouth." "Really? That's strange. I'm pretty sure I can remember things far less edible than stew that ended up in there. And you didn't complain about the taste then?" "Different context, you little prick." With a sigh, he raises his bowl to dip the tips of his lips into the stew. "It's better than it looks." "Incredible. It's almost as if looks aren't that important after all. Coming from you, that's quite ironic. What did you say again? Oh yes, different context, you little prick. We both burst out laughing, briefly attracting the attention of the surrounding tables. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're having a good time, that's all that counts. Meanwhile, things are happening on stage. The band obviously finished what they set out to do, and it's a solo bard who takes their place. He's a 15 or 16-year-old raccoon whose outfit isn't necessarily unlike NeveN's. He's holding a lute. As opposed to singing and making music at the same time, it's relatively rare to see that. And it makes using a brand when performing extremely complicated. So look at that. It could be interesting. What makes you say that? The fact that he's on his own for a start, and the way he holds himself too. He's clearly nervous, but look at the way he's handling his instrument. His hands aren't shaking, they're perfectly placed to play properly. He knows what he's doing, despite his young age. I suppose I'll have to rely on your professional expertise on the subject. He's starting. From the first notes, I know we're in for an excellent performance. All traces of nervousness have completely disappeared. Then the raccoon closes his eyes and starts to sing. A bad habit, but something that can be corrected with experience. Quickly I get caught up in the song. He's really good, not perfect. Some notes last a little too long, others are a little too short, but overall he's doing well. I am surprised and really impressed though when little spheres of light start to appear around him, twinkling around his head. He manages to sing, play, and use his brain, although the way he uses his powers is extraordinary. I turn to Tenoch to point out how rare this is, and then realize that he's indefinitely not paying attention to what's happening on stage. He's looking at me attentively with a lovely smile. Tenoch, you're missing everything. Don't worry. What I'm looking at is much more interesting. I've never seen you like this before. Like what? You're so focused. Even when I'm teaching you about your brand, I can see that you're paying attention to what I'm saying, but it's not at this level. Your ears are completely locked on to him. I can tell whether you like what he's doing or not by the way they're twitching. Not to mention that light in your eyes. I think I've only seen that when you sing. It's interesting, and it makes you more present, more alive. Not that you're not dynamic usually. I think we both know that. It's just that I like seeing you acting that way, that's all. I can't help blushing as my gaze drifts back to the raccoon. What's the matter with him? Why is he talking about that? I can't be that fascinated to watch while doing nothing else, can I? I suppose the music is here. I can at least try to explain it to him a bit. I let out a sigh before replying, by continuing to watch the bard playing and singing. My attention divided between Tenoch and him. Music and singing has always been extremely important to me. For as long as I can remember, even when I was just a kid, when a troupe arrived in Skarna, I had to be in the front row to listen to them. And then with vigor, that's what bound us together long before feelings got involved. He played, I sang. We had planned to discover the world, and do it for better or for worse, the best bards the world has ever known. Another side escapes me, etc. As you know, it didn't end that way. Well, I suppose that on my side at least, I was able to achieve that goal. I'm the best bard in the kingdom now. And for that, I left him behind. It's rare, to have found what you like in life so early on, and a passion of your own. I'm happy for you. It's not as if it was without its difficulties. I don't doubt that for a second, but believe me, there's nothing I find more interesting to see than someone who's found what they want and what they'll enjoy for the rest of their life. Especially when the person in question is as cute as you. or on top of everything else. And this distraction was just to pay me a compliment. Well, I'm entitled to give one now and then. I didn't say I was complete. With a smile, I turned my full attention to the raccoon. Given his talent, I don't want to miss any part of his performance. He continues to play for a few minutes before finally standing up, slightly out of breath. Then he bows to the crowd, waving his feathered hat before stepping off stage. So, can I have your professional opinion? I'd say that if you want to support a young bard who's just starting out, he's probably one of the best choices you can make. He's really good. A few little mistakes here and there, some beginner's errors, but he's got real potential. You're really putting him forward. Maybe I should replace my current bard with this one. Oh, but your current bard is far superior. I smile at him as I slowly slide my hand against his, gradually moving up to caress his leg. Not to mention my many other talents. You got a point. I struggle to do away with any of that. I smiled at Tenoch before snuggling up to him. Then I turned my attention back to the scene and those passing by. Stayed for a while, enjoying the atmosphere provided by the various singers while emptying our drinks. I don't know how long we spend here exactly, but it's long enough for the inn staff to have to light the lanterns. Just as the day is in that strange moment of suspension between afternoon and the evening, the waitress comes back to us with an embarrassed look on her face. Excuse me, sir, but are you Lord Eric, our royal bard? Yes, why? We'd just be really flattered if you agreed to sing at our inn. Oh, I wouldn't want to take anyone's place. Don't worry, we always have a few free moments for this sort of occasion. I glance over at Tenoch, who just shrugs his shoulders. In that case, I suppose I could treat you to a song. Thank you very much. In about 10 minutes, will that be alright? I'll be ready. She bows briefly before running off to announce the news. I can understand why my presence will undoubtedly attract a lot of people to their establishment. Look at that, you're a victim of your own success. You can't even relax anymore without having to perform on the stage. We've been here all afternoon. I'm just doing them a favor. Once word gets out that the royal bard sang here, people will come hoping to see me here. Are you sure you want to do it in this bar? It's better to choose who you associate with, after all. I don't see a problem with the big flute. They have a habit of promoting young bards and putting them forward, and that's totally something I want to support too. In that case, I guess the stage is yours. I placed a kiss on his lips before rising to join the stage. As I wait for the bard before me to finish, I think for a brief moment about what I'm going to offer them. We've had our fill of drinking songs and love ballads, perhaps something more serious. It's finally up to me. I take a deep breath, paste my best smile on my face, and launch myself into a world that is more than familiar to me. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric, Royal Bard of Frostfang, and it's both an honor and a pleasure to be able to sing here. We've had more than enough opportunities to sing of romance and blues during the day, and no doubt it will happen many more times before the night is out. And now I think it's time to get carried away by a tale of mystery. It's time for legends, fog, and folklore. I take a deep breath before staring briefly at Tenoch, and then I'm off. The wind whispers of legends long lost. In the valleys deep under the frost, through a sigh, secrets that lie asleep suddenly emerge from somewhere deep. Our ancestral trees whisper old tales of monsters and heroes fighting tooth and nails. That's why we all pray for the victory. A great war is forgotten by history. Throughout the season, stories awaken. Oh, they are far from being forsaken. The wind carries our dreams to the distant shore, where myths continue to blossom even more. The lyrics don't really try to tell a story, but simply convey an emotion. Looking at my audience, I can see it's a success. On the final lyrics, my gaze falls on Tenoch, who smiles tenderly at me, and I can feel my heart briefly leap into my chest. I never thought I'd be able to get so attached to someone in such a short time. With those thoughts, I wave to my audience, enjoying the applause of those I managed to please, but I don't really listen to critics. There's only one opinion I'm interested in at the moment, and I'm going back down to join my lizard so I can hear it. Satisfied with my performance, Mr. Ambassador? Absolutely delighted. I keep forgetting that you're capable of seeing more serious stuff too. Hey, I'm not always what I seem to be. I offer him a big smile before grabbing him by the hand. Shall we go? I want to be alone with you for a while. Oh, really? And I suppose we won't be doing anything but talking during this one-on-one time? What we do is up to us, and I'm sure we'll find something to do that we like by the time we get home. I leaned down to kiss Tenoch before standing up again, when I placed a large purse of extra gold on the table. I can't afford it, after all, if they've been more than friendly here. Once outside, I snuggle up to the lizard as I make my way through the streets. I've had too much to drink to really care anymore what people will think. All I know is that it's extremely pleasant. You finally decided to hold on to me. I offer you a free song, so you can give me a bit of cuddling in return, can't you? He laughs as he looks around, and he smiles at me as he leans over to whisper softly into one of my ears. Perhaps I can even offer you a little more. Without hesitation, he pushes me towards an alleyway off the side of the main street, which is considerably less well lit than the rest. What are you doing? You'll see. We make our way down the small empty alley until we find ourselves alone. Just as I'm about to ask Tenoch again what he's going to do, he pins me up against the wall, his arms on each side of me. Tenoch, I'm not sure I can wait to get back to the castle, that's all. It's a bit risky, don't you think? That only makes it more interesting, doesn't it? Before I can answer, he leans in to seal my mouth with a kiss, and I can quickly feel myself melting against him. One of his hands slips under my shirt to caress my stomach, so I raise my arms to wrap them around his neck, pulling him as close to me as I can. At the same time, his tail slowly slides under my clothes through the bottom of my trousers, gradually working its way up my legs, but never the things he could do with that. Our tongues mingle with each other all the while, the kiss dragging on as long as possible, but I don't know how much longer I can. Well, what a charming sight. I immediately step back to look in the direction of the voice. A lynx emerges from the darkness that obscures the end of the alley on to the teeth. Almost literally, his torso is covered with daggers as well as a variety of throwing knives, as he has a sword hanging from either side of his hips. It's borderline ridiculous. Oh, sorry, we didn't mean to interrupt. 3 more Anthrokins accompany him, and the 4th blocks the street's entrance. Shit, I guess it was a bit much to ask that we could end this day on a good note. We probably pushed it far enough for now anyway. It's best we get going. Already, but we've only just met. How would you, Ambassador? It seems you already know who I am. There aren't many lizards around here, especially not accompanied by the royal board. Fuck, I can see Tenoch working in his brand, his back covered in an orange glow. I have no doubt he can slaughter these people, but maybe we can still avoid a bloodbath. Gentlemen, here I thought I could go unnoticed, but I guess we couldn't escape your keen eye. Tenoch gives me a surprised look, but still decided to let me do my thing. No doubt such attention deserves a small reward, so I suggest that you kindly accept the contents of our purses, then we can part on friendly terms. That's very tempting. What do you think? Cut the crap, Jarek, and let's get down to business. Sorry, it seems my companions won't settle for such a small reward. After all, I'm sure we could get a lot more by selling you both to the highest bidder. But you still have to kiss us. Flames begin to shoot through the air between us and them, a clear sign of my companion's intentions. Do you really think we weren't prepared for your little tricks? We know what you are capable of. A bluish glow can be seen beneath the lynx's clothing. Then a series of trickles of water emerge from his sleeves to strike Tenoch's flames, extinguishing them instantly before taking these form of spheres of ice that float in place. Is that all you got? He swells and the ice disappears almost instantly as a strong surge of heat hits my face. I turn around, both to watch the man blocking our exit and to turn away from the searing temperature. Do you have any idea who I am? Do you really think you can threaten me? The heat is still rising, and I can hear the panic in the voices of our assailants. Sirek, we should leave. No, I can handle it. Oh fuck, it's burning my hand. The Anthrokin in front of me, a large ram, draws his sword and strides towards me with a toothy grin. I draw my own YBR since I don't really have time to sing to activate my brand. Now I just have to hope that the month of training with Gillian hasn't been a total waste. Tenoch is busy on his own with the other three, so I have to deal with this one. He steps towards me, waves his sword before lowering it abruptly in my direction. After the fights against the captain of the Royal Guards is a move that seems ridiculously slow and simple to me. I have no trouble sliding to the side, and I lunge forward, my rapier pointing straight at my opponent's large stomach. The ram lowers his free arm to fend off my blade, not without receiving a cut in the process. Painful, no doubt, but preferable to having your stomach pierced. I suppose I won't be able to finish this fight with just one swing. However, I understand better why he uses his body as a shield when a small green light glows at the base of his neck as the wound on his arm closes. Crap. I have to deliver a deadlier blow than that. I take advantage of the moment when he's healing to get as far away from this narrow alley as possible, and that's when I feel another heat wave and screams of pain. I feel his urge to turn around and see what Tenoch is doing takes hold of me, but I can't. Not yet. I need to keep control of the offensive. Once that brief distance between me and my attacker is established, I turn suddenly, hoping to catch him off guard. He's probably stronger than me, but I'm considerably faster, so I tend to take advantage of the momentum he's gained to chase after me, destroying him deeply. And my blow hits. I can feel the tip of my blade dig into the flesh of his belly as the ram grunts in pain. He recalls before I have time to do any significant damage, but if hit, I can fight. My joy is short-lived, however, as he retreats. I feel something tug at my blade. I don't understand. It shouldn't be stuck like that. Ah, gotcha. I cast a quick glance at his wound, and that's when I figure it out. He instantly healed it to block my blade in his body. I probably won't be able to remove it before his next blow. I'll have to leave it here. I'll leave it there, but I'll find myself unarmed. Fuck. Tenoch. I won't have time to react. He's still fighting the other three. The blade is closing in on me. I got to pull back too. I can't. The sword comes closer and closer, almost as if time is distorting and I can't move. And then a thud sounds in my ear, followed by the clank of the weapon falling to the ground, and finally a quiet pain. An arrow stuck in the ram's wrist. You really have a knack for getting yourself into trouble, you know. Okay, what the fuck is he doing here? Move. The ram lets out a quiet pain as he grips his wrist with his free hand before turning his head towards Vakar, fury filling his eyes. I'll make you pay for this. You're going to suck. His expression changes, however, when he notices Vakar approaching. No, back off, no. The stand doesn't give him time to finish as he grabs his muzzle with one hand to keep it closed. I think for now it's best if you keep quiet. There's a horrible quack as I hear the ram let out a muffled moan. McCarran, what are you doing? I'm making sure he can't call for help. But, are you alright? I turned to face Tenoch, who was looking at me with a worried expression. Behind him, I could see the other three criminals, their fur burnt, lying unconscious on the ground. The lizard himself has a cut on his cheek. Yeah, but he wants his hand over his face, wiping away what little blood is there. It's nothing. I was a little too careless. It won't happen again. He then cast a puzzled look at my savior, who was still holding the wham's snout firmly. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same question. What are you doing next to the one of the entrances to Bastard's Alley? He releases a ram, who falls heavily to the ground, then absentmindedly kicks him with his hoof to stun him cleanly. I don't like the sound it makes at all. I'd rather turn my attention to something else. Bastard's Alley is an underground street system that runs beneath the whole city, basically the center of everything illegal and phosphine. I've never been there, but I heard it's lovely. Not the word I would have used. It's a shithole filled with all the filth the city doesn't want to sell. I think I see what you mean. I didn't know one of the entrances was here. I would not have stuck around. Now you know. You both better get out of here. You're making prime targets, and I doubt you're in the mood for any more violence tonight. You're right about that. But you haven't answered my question. The stag sighs as he crosses his arms. The prince asked me to keep an eye on you, so that you wouldn't get into trouble during your little trip. I lost sight of you for a moment, otherwise I would have intervened sooner. I told him it wasn't necessary, but thanks. I'm not going to pretend you didn't help. I just did my job. Now get the fuck out of here. Wait, before that, he seemed to know you when you... Not now. We'll talk about it later. Oh, and don't forget this. He leans over and grabs my rapier, yanking on it with a jerk. When he hands it to me, I can see small bits of skin and flesh still clinging to the blade, confirming my idea that the ram has healed around it. Thank you for that, and for the rescue. Sure. Now move out of the way, while I clean up this mess and make sure the guard takes care of it. Tenoch grabs me by the arm and smile. A smile on his face as we leave. I know him well enough by now to know that his expression is forced. I'm not sure I understand at all. Me neither, that's my problem. None of this makes any sense. If they clearly knew who I was, they also knew what I'm capable of. I doubt they would have decided on a whim to challenge me. So it was planned? Were they forced to do it? Or someone convinced them that my plan is less powerful than it really is. The link seemed certain he could extinguish your flames. And he tried other such tricks afterwards. There's something that bugs me about this whole situation. At least Cat intervened at the right moment. That's strange too. Not that he intervened, his story is credible, but the way he acted. It's true he was almost cruel at times. And you said that the ram recognized him. That's what it seemed to me anyway. I know that Cat lives in Bastard's Alley for a while, and that he was part of a gang. Cat, was he a criminal? I find it hard to imagine him like that. I don't have the details, but I just know he helped Gillard take down his bandit gang eventually before he won his place in the court. It could just be a survivor of the group, which brought back bad memories for him, couldn't it? It could. He then sinks into a silence I know all too well, the one he needs to think through a complicated problem, and I find myself doing the same. This is clearly not how I hoped the evening would end. I was looking forward to something considerably more pleasant. The question of who our assailants are, why they were there, and the risks they took sticks into my mind, especially some of the Lynx's words. He wanted to sell us, but to whom and how? I know that McCat sometimes tries to retrieve former slaves, but it's a lot more complex than it sounds, especially within the capital. And even more so when it involves a foreign representative and a member of the court. They must have contacted someone who, according according to Tenoch, lied to them about our real capabilities. But why? We've arrived. Look up and see the castle gate in front of us. I didn't even realize we'd come this far where I was lost in thought. As we entered the courtyard, I could hear two familiar voices rising, and I can't help but approach, curious, while being followed by Tenoch. I quickly stumbled upon Rowan and Gillian, who are half hidden in a corner of the courtyard. I just want to talk to her, for fuck's sake. I told you, it's impossible. Those are the orders, no visitors, even family. Gillian, Captain, is everything alright? The two Anthrocans almost flinched at the sound of my voice, and I can now see Rowan's face. He is obviously upset about something. What are you doing here? No offense, but you're not exactly discreet. I was curious to see the source of such a ruckus. Oh well, why don't we tell them, Captain? Why don't we tell them what all the noise is about? It won't be long before everyone knows anyway. Rowan, pull yourself together immediately. And if you can't do it, go for a walk on the ramparts. It'll calm you down. Very well, Captain. If you think it's for the best. Rowan salutes Gillian before storming off in a huff in front of our completely lost stairs. What's going on? Sorry about that. He's just out of control. No worries. What's going on? Gillian lets out a long sigh. I suppose he's not wrong, and everyone will be made aware of the situation soon enough. Simi has been imprisoned. So either was telling the truth. You don't seem particularly surprised. We had heard rumors about the attack on the Mercadian diplomats. What prompted the king to act so quickly? Simi herself, she has admitted she was responsible and has asked to be imprisoned. At first I think of simply trying to retort that it's impossible, that there's no way she could have done it. Then my conversation with Tenoch comes back to me. Simi isn't guilty, but then why confess about the crime? Because it's the best course of action. By confessing, she takes the thorn out of the king's paws. They no longer have a decision to make. She sacrifices herself to protect them. She makes herself a pawn on the chessboard and then withdraws from the game. I suppose the same thoughts are running through Tenoch's head at this very moment, but he doesn't let on. If that's the case, we can only rejoice. It's a good thing done. After all, tell that to Rowan. Simi is his wife's grandmother. He refuses to believe that she organized the attack. On the contrary, he knows perfectly well that she hates the Mercadians enough to be capable of it, so he's furious with her. Oh, I can understand that, I suppose. Gillian sighs again before straightening up. I should go and check what he's doing, because he might be inclined to try to break into the dungeons. I bid you both a good night. Good night and good luck. We watch Gillian walk away in a heavy silence. Even if I am right and Simi confesses his crime to simplify the situation, it is still as just a fraught with consequences. Not to mention the fact that she was still close to the royal family. How would the rest of the nobility react to this in Mercad? I turned to Tenoch, who smiles at me with a hint of sadness in his eyes. I know this isn't exactly what you wanted, but could I sleep alone tonight? I've got quite a lot to think about. Oh, yeah, of course you can. No worries. Thanks. He smiles at me, then gently strokes my cheek before kissing me again. Despite the end of the day, I've had a great time with you, so try to remember only the positive, will you? I'll try. And you, please get some rest. I know you'll be trying to work all night. He bursts out laughing before starting to walk away. Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself. I hope he's alright about that. To be continued. Hello everyone. We hope you've enjoyed this chapter. If you want more information about NeveN, feel free to follow us on Twitter. We also have a Discord allowing you to chat among community members. Finally, if you would like to support our project, we also have a Patreon that offers you a series of benefits such as builds 2 weeks in advance, but also unique stories about the characters on NeveN. If you like the VM, please also feel free to rate us on Itch.io. It will help us a lot. Once again, a big thanks to all of you, and see you soon. Okay, so that was Chapter 6 for Tenoch. So, we got to see more intimate scenes of, well, dialogue anyway. Got to see more intimacy between Tenoch and Eric through the dialogue. Like, it seems like every chapter they get closer and closer, and the bond between them just continues to grow. And considering the fact that Tenoch will likely have to leave soon or eventually, because he could be emperor soon. I mean, considering that he has to leave, it's only going to hurt more, especially for Eric. I mean, relationships like that, like when you know that you two probably won't see each other again, and y'all just keep getting close to each other. Eventually, when that time comes for them to separate, it's going to hurt. And yes, sure, you got the memories of them. Sure, Eric will have memories of Tenoch and him together and being intimate and being close, but that's always going to be. Once Vakar appears, you will recognize the names of the bandits, or I will call them, who tried to capture Tenoch and Eric. So these are the people that Vakar was once associated with, and apparently for some reason they thought they could defeat Tenoch. I don't know whether they were overconfident or they thought they could handle it with their brains, or if somebody told them that they weren't as powerful as they thought they were. Maybe Tenoch wasn't as powerful as what he claims to be or what he demonstrated to be.